Let's have a closer look at the new Audi RS Q e-tron E2. Audi competed in the Dakar rally with a very new drivetrain concept in 2022 for the very first time and designed an impressive prototype with many interesting features that I analyzed in my previous videos, which you can find in the description below. So for any general information about Audi's Dakar concept, check out my other video. In this video we will focus on the updates of the new version. For the new Evolution 2, Audi concentrated on three things: lowering the weight, reducing drag, and improving serviceability. Lowering the weight because the first version was pretty much overweight. The new version now meets the new minimum weight limit of 2,100 kg. Reducing drag because there was some potential, as I pointed out in my last video. And improving serviceability because Audi had lots of tire and damper damage last year and the repair jobs took a bit longer than necessary. So if we have a look at the E2, it looks very similar to last year's car and the concept is still the same. But if we take a closer look, we can see that every surface and every detail of the bodywork is actually different. Let's start at the front. When you design a car for a motorsport category you don't have previous knowledge about, like Audi in the Dakar, you want to be on the safe side in terms of cooling. Hence, you design a car with slightly larger air intakes. Now that Audi has 1 year of experience and even won a few stages, they know a bit better what they need and reduced the air intakes of the roof scoop. The Audi has his large roof scoop to get the cleanest possible air for the most important systems of the car: intercooler, engine air, main water radiator. If you want to see exactly how the car looks like underneath the cover, check out my other video. The front inlet stayed the same size and feeds the low temperature radiator for battery and electric motors and the condenser for the AC system, which by the way is also improved and was one of the driver's complaints last year. If we take a closer look at the front, we can see that instead of having the main lights close to the center and the bluff wall outside, they now switched position, moved the lights outboard and changed the bluff wall into a huge air intake that channels air on top of the hood. That way, they reduce the positive pressure in front of the car and create some downforce at the front. But there's more to it. Actually, the whole surface of the front is different. The nose used to be round at the front and curl down a lot more. Now the nose is a lot sharper and there is an overhang. So any air below the Audi logo stays underneath and cannot spill up. Also, the wheel arch at the sides are a lot more open now to further reduce positive pressure at the front and guide air as straightly as possible along the car. That, on the other hand, required the wheel arch to be a lot more aerodynamic. So the wishbone and damper connections are a lot more covered and, one pretty cool feature, instead of letting the air crash into the upper damper eye, they created an air intake right there which guides the flow on top of the hood again, which then makes it 4 red outlets on top. We talked about the hidden air outlet of the center cooling in my previous video. Now it's no longer hidden because Audi removed the so-called elephant foot. So the front is much more open now and they save the weight. But the front hood does even more now. To understand this, we need to talk about the shoulder line of the E2, which is now lower. The result are higher side windows, a more upright windscreen for better visibility and less reflections. But since Audi uses the same tube frame for the car, the spare wheels are now exposed and in order to save weight they didn't fully cover them anymore. And by the way, the low shoulder line in combination with last year's tube frame is also the reason why the windscreen wipers are suddenly so exposed this year. Disadvantage is now that the tire tread is exposed to the airflow and will increase drag. But you could compensate this effect if you guide weight to that position and it looks like the hood is doing exactly that. Separations and losses from the upper damper mounting could be used to shadow the exposed tire to reduce drag. But the strong shoulder line was one of the advantages of last year's car. Now the shoulder line is broken off and it's important for the hood to push the dirt from the front wheels down to keep the side windows clean. Very important in a long rally like the Dakar. In line with that is also that they push the mirror up to keep it clean for longer. Because they removed the whole structure behind the front wheel, there was nothing left to fix the mud flap on. They now created a wing-shaped element to hold the mud flap. Because of the many tire changes they had last year, they made this procedure a lot easier. First of all, they now only need to undo a single clip to get the wheel cover off instead of 4. And since a lot of the tire is exposed, it's much easier to put a damaged wheel back on the car. Last year the wheel was completely covered, and if a damaged wheel didn't fit in the cover, it was hard to put it on. The wheel is held in place by struts, but holding the cover with a single clip could also be risky if the mechanism is damaged or you lose the clip. Hopefully they carry a few spare clips with them. Nice to see is how Audi is using the doors to access components of the car. So instead of using a separate cover, the door is doing that job. That saves parts and weight again. Last year Audi came up with this fancy rim design, but it made it hard to grab and carry the 40-kilogram wheel. This year they changed to a simple 10-spoke design, which makes it much easier to hold the wheel. At the wheel cover we can see how they try to guide the flow closer to the center of the car and reduce the wake and hands drag. Also, the lower shoulder and lower separation line at the back help with that. One of the most obvious changes to last year is the removal of the large side intakes. It's a cool design, and the Peugeot had them because its main cooling was there. And by the way, that was also one of its big weak points. If you want to know more about the Peugeot Dakar program, check out my other video below. The Audi didn't really use these intakes for anything because the main cooling is hidden in the tube frame, fed by the roof scoop. So it was more a design feature rather than a technical necessity, as I pointed out in my last video last year. Now they removed exactly that and reduced the parachute effect they created. The frontal area is a lot smaller and the rear end slimmer. Interesting to see is the gurney flap all around, which also helps under high yaw angles when the car is drifting. And also the shark fin is gone now, which helps the car to turn in more easily at higher speeds. The top speed is regulated at a maximum of 170 km per hour, but the pilots describe that they can now reach the speed faster and more easily, as if there is less resistance. Audi claims to have reduced drag by 15%. Furthermore, Audi updated the control strategies of their complex drivetrain to be even more efficient. So, overall, the impressive Audi e-tron RSQ concept of last year is now much more defined. And after last year's car was more like a designer version, this year's car looks more like a serious race car, which is more extreme than any Dakar prototype we have seen before. How do you like Audi's latest Dakar contender? Let me know in the comments below.